You know, it's wild how a single crisis, just one moment, can completely define a police department for a generation. The stakes are just incredibly high. So the real question for police leaders is, how do you navigate that chaos? How do you use it to build a stronger community instead of a deeper divide? Well, let's get into it.
Okay, so this really is the core question we're tackling here. When everything is on the line, tensions are sky high, and it feels like the whole world is watching, what's the right move for police leaders? Do you just double down on the old playbook? Or is there a better way forward? A blueprint for something more constructive, something that actually lasts?
Well, all too often, the default response, that knee-jerk reaction in a crisis, is something called rage-induced policing. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. We're talking riot gear, crackdowns, a show of force. It's an approach that's basically fueled by pressure and the need to get control, fast. The problem is, this short-term fix can cause massive long-term damage. It can absolutely shatter the very trust you're supposed to be building.
So this really sets up a choice, right? A fork in the road for any police leader. You can go down one path, the old reactive enforcement model, or you can choose another, one that's much more proactive and community-focused. Let's really break down what these two competing models look like.
And honestly, the difference between these two could not be more stark. On one hand, you have rage-induced policing, which fundamentally sees the community as the problem, something that needs to be controlled. But then you have community policing, which, well, it flips that completely on its head. It sees the community as the partner in solving problems. It's the difference between an occupying force and a genuine public service. A huge, huge difference.
Okay, so if we're saying that reactive model is the problem, what's the solution? What's the new standard we should be aiming for? Let's dig in and define what community policing actually is, because it's a term that gets thrown around a lot.
Right, and this is so important. Community policing isn't just another program or a checklist of things to do. It's a whole philosophy, a fundamental shift in mindset. It's built on the core belief that the police and the public are on the same team, partners in creating public safety. The entire goal is to get ahead of problems, to be proactive instead of just reacting after the fact.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Because it's not just some abstract idea, right? We're talking about real, tangible programs. For example, things like neighborhood watches that actually empower citizens, or police-sponsored youth sports leagues, a great way to build relationships with the next generation. You've also got citizen academies that kind of pull back the curtain on police work, and regular community forums where people can actually talk and be heard. You see, these are the real building blocks of trust.
Okay, now this all sounds fantastic in theory, doesn't it? But let's be real. Making this kind of massive shift is incredibly difficult. It is not as simple as just flipping a switch. There are some major real-world hurdles that pretty much every police leader runs into when they try to put this philosophy into practice.
So what are these roadblocks? Well, first, you've got internal resistance to change. Think about it. Many officers have been trained for a totally different style of policing for years. Then there's the huge one, a lack of community trust. I mean, how are you supposed to partner with a community that might not trust you to begin with? And of course, you knew this was coming, money. These programs cost something, and budgets are tight. And finally, there's always political pressure for a quick fix, a fast win, when building real trust can take years.
But just knowing about the barriers is only the first step, right? The next, and maybe more important step, is getting the right toolkit to actually break through them. To really make community policing work, a department has got to be properly equipped for the job.
So, what's in this toolkit? Well, it's not just about having good intentions. First off, you need dedicated people whose whole job is driving community engagement. You need comprehensive, ongoing training to help officers become genuine problem solvers. You need the right technology to support these efforts, and you absolutely have to have sustainable funding to make it last. But maybe the most crucial resource of all, real, authentic partnerships with the community itself. Seriously, these aren't just nice-to-haves, they are the absolute foundation for success. Which brings up a fair question. Why? Why go through all this hassle? Why fight the internal resistance and scramble for funding? Well, because the payoff, the ultimate goal here, gets to the very heart of what effective democratic policing is supposed to be all about.
It really creates this amazing virtuous cycle. Look, when you start with proactive problem solving, that begins to build trust. And when people trust the police, they feel more empowered. That empowerment, in turn, boosts the department's legitimacy in the eyes of the public. And what happens when a police department is seen as legitimate? The community is way more willing to cooperate and work with them. The end result? Better, more effective policing and a safer community for absolutely everyone. And if you're going to take one thing away from all of this, let it be this quote. The crucial point is this: it's a fundamental shift from temporary enforcement to permanent partnership. I mean, that really says it all, doesn't it? It's about moving away from this idea of police as an outside force that just shows up when things go bad, and moving towards a reality where they're seen as an integrated part of the community, working with citizens day in and day out.
So in the end, the path forward, this framework for a better, more trusted model of policing, it's not some big secret. The blueprint is already there. It exists. The real question is, who's going to build with it? Which leaders are going to have the courage, the vision, and the commitment to actually pick up those tools and start building something new? That's the challenge for all of us.